Boom, let's do it. Pat, why did you want to do this episode with me?
I wanted to do this because there are a lot of things, including Charlie Kirk. I love Charlie Kirk. He really hits on abortion as taking the life, an innocent life. And he's very good at that. But there are so many other reasons why not abortion. And I would email Charlie, and I hadn't heard back. And so I thought, I'll do a podcast with Dustin.
There you go. Yeah, I heard he had a thing or two going on in his later days. There, he was a mover and a shaker. So,
Charlie.
Oh yeah.
Yes, but he also gave that example of waiting to get married to have sex.
Yeah.
And he and Erica both, and yeah. And now they've
Which
got...
it's funny because like he would say stuff like that, and it came across as just like common sense, which is how it always sounded until about 15 minutes ago when the world decided, never mind, that's not allowed to be part of the conversation anymore. And it was just so like we were talking a second ago about moral clarity, and it was just like, yes, this is right, this is wrong. Let's talk about it. Like it's fine. I don't need to make a fancy defense for it. Like this is just what is reasonable, and it came across as reasonable when he said it. So yeah, I appreciated that.
Well, it is reasonable.
Yeah.
It's totally reasonable, and God has a beautiful plan. Sex is a God-given thing, and we forget that. It's not something teenagers invent in the backseat of a car. It is a gift. People say it's God's wedding gift to us, and it's true. And but we have to. It's like fire. We have to put guardrails up around it.
Yep, gets out of the fireplace, it burns the house down. I tell that to young men all the time, and I don't know. There's a thing about it which is like our. I'm always saying sin makes you stupid, right? And when something feels good, your brain just kind of shuts off, and the idea that there's logic to this stuff,
yes,
and the logic is good, and like you said, this is something that God gave us, and yeah, the reason it gets pushed into the dark and it seems like something that Christians don't like or whatever, we're trying to squash it, is because. Because we're talking about the negative side effects of it, but the reason those effects are so huge is because it's such a big gift in the first place.
Right. And Satan is such a clever liar.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to believe in his lies, and they're so prevalent. And that's why I wanted to talk about it, of what the lies are. And yeah,
and the effects are devastating, right? Because then you wind up with these pregnancies, unplanned. Oftentimes unwanted, and then there's all kinds of sinful reactions to these things as well. And with our medical sophistication in the last 100 years, we've gotten pretty good at thinking we don't leave scars when we just go ahead and kill a baby and get rid of it and move on from the consequences. And there's a lot of people, I don't believe the stats, to tell you the truth, when they say just as many people in churches are having abortions as outside of the church. I call BS on that. I don't think that's true at all. I do think there are as many people in the church who have had abortions as there are outside the church, which I'm great with, because it's like, where else would you rather they be, right? And so that's why when you said, hey, I want to get on there and tell you my story, I lunged at it. I was like, let's book this thing, because there's redemption here, right?
There is redemption. It's humbling and a great deal of honesty, because I had an abortion, and how that affected me through the years changed. When my second pregnancy, first child was born, the reality really sets in that I had killed that child, that he was alive and then he was dead, and I had killed it. And that's one of the things that people don't want to say, and it sounds harsh, but it is reality, that part of the problem with abortion is a mother oversees the death of her own child, and it's devastating to a woman. And men don't escape this either. I talked to a man that was involved with pro-life movement, and I said, "How did you get involved?" He seemed like this just, squeaky clean guy, and I thought he'd grown up in church and had heard it was wrong, and he wanted to be part of the movement. And he said he had taken 2 women to get an abortion. And he said the looks on their face were exactly the same. it said they looked like they had died, and it haunted him. And so this is a thing that you have to deal with the reality of what you've done, or you can go the opposite end into denial, and you can have things like the Democratic Convention where they had the abortion truck outside of the convention, and women bragging about how many abortions they've had. That's just called acting out and just living in a denial, which is very sad. So then when my first child was born, I asked God for forgiveness and really felt like he had forgiven me and believed in that. But as time went on, then later I became a Bible-believing, born-again Christian.
So you were asking God for forgiveness before you really knew God, before you were a Christian?
I had gone to church all my life. I'd never read the Bible. I didn't understand what a Christian was. I didn't understand the Holy Spirit. I didn't understand baptism. I just, I can call myself a doctor, but unless I do certain things, I'm not a doctor.
Okay.
And I think it's the same with Christianity. You need to have a basic understanding of, what is a Christian? Mm-hmm. What is the Bible? What does it say?
But at the time, you knew that there was a God out there who kept a moral account, and
yes.
you were answerable to him, and
yes.
he also extended forgiveness.
Yes, and I had done wrong.
Yeah.
And I'd asked for forgiveness. And so that was reassuring to me. But then I became a Bible-believing Christian, and the reality set in that I believed that this child would be in heaven, and that I would not only see this child in heaven, but I would know this child, and this child would know me. The Bible talks about we will know all. Now we see darkly as through a mirror.
1 Corinthians 13, yeah.
And so I would go over the conversation with this child and, hi, I'm your mom. I'm the one that took your earthly life away. And that was very real to me, and it bothered me. It also bothered me that that my children, because by then I'd become very conservative as they were growing up, and that
like politically or socially or all of
that? Everything. Okay. Yeah. Wanted them to wait till they got married. Mm-hmm. And they just saw me as a goody two-shoes rather than as someone that's putting up warning, don't go there.
Okay.
And so I wanted to be able to talk to them and tell them my story. And I didn't know how to do that. So I ended up going to classes that were offered by a pro-life group. And that was amazing. Very, very healing.
Classes like recovery classes and that type of thing?
Recovering from abortion. Okay. I can't remember what they're called.
Yeah.
And you go through certain things and you realize certain things. For one thing, that when somebody dies, people gather, and they talk about that person. But when there's an abortion, there's just silence, right. Absolute stunning silence. Nobody talks about it. Nobody mentions it. There was also people in my life. I was young I was born in 1950, and so I was a teenager in the late 60s when the whole sexual revolution, that was a brand new thing, exciting, love, free love, everything, drugs, sex, and rock and roll. Mm-hmm. And so I was going to church all the time, and my pastor actually left to take a job with Planned Parenthood, of all things.
I'm sorry, what?
It's true. And not only did he leave the pastor to take a job with Planned Parenthood, but everybody thought that was a great idea, so that every child could be a wanted child. That was their slogan. Do you remember that slogan?
I do. And I found out about it in the rearview mirror. Somebody had told me about it. But, so I grew up in a very fundamentalist church. My parents were first generation Christians, and they said, well, we're going to take you to this Bible thumping church because they can teach you the Bible and we can't, right? Now, the downside of that was they knew the Bible, but there were some other issues in regards to how they treated people, right?
Yeah.
But But one of the things that my parents told me as I got older was that abortion used to be advocated for even in fundamentalist churches, right? And the case for it was that it was Genesis 2:7, right? Because God breathed the breath of life into Adam and he became a living being. And so until they've taken a breath, it's not a living being. There's no soul there. And mom's choice, right? And we're looking at this in retrospect and we're just like, that's evil. But that was where Christianity was at in its reasoning process at the time. So, I mean, I was shocked when you just said he left to work at Planned Parenthood, but I guess there is actually a category for that in the history of Christian thought.
Well, and I guess it sounded good. People didn't realize the downsides then. And now I can see the downsides, but I don't think young people realize all the downsides, and I don't think we're good at articulating that.
Sure. Well, we're going to do some of that today. So let me back up a little bit about in your story. How old were you when you faced this pregnancy?
I was out of college.
Okay.
I was teaching. Okay. Yeah.
And then was this a long-term relationship that you had with a guy? Or
no.
So where was Dad in this whole thing?
He didn't even know about it until afterwards.
Okay.
I wasn't interested. That was kind of the thing. And you felt the pressure. And so as a senior in my church, the pastor would meet with us individually and tell us to wait till we got married to have sex. But what all the kids said was he really doesn't believe that, but he's forced to do that. And so there was nothing from the church of giving reasons to wait.
So he was a pretty liberal pastor anyway.
Yeah. And so everybody was going with the tide. And that was kind of the thing to do. That was the early 70s and the whole hippie movement. And, and I just got tired of being called the churchy girl. And then abortion came in and that took away all excuses. You were going to get called names if you didn't have sex. They would be angry at you because you were weird. You were just weird. And there was no pro-life movement. There was nothing.
So you're talking right around 1973, right around the Roe versus Wade thing.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Is that really what kind of broke everything open for as far as permission structures for
it was going that way, but then that really blew the lid off was Roe versus Wade. And so why not?
So when you found out you were pregnant, did you tell anybody about it or
no?
Okay.
No.
This might be a weird question, but what would the reaction from your community have been? Would there have been support to keep and raise the baby? Would there have been support to go and do what you did?
Oh yeah, I told one woman who I was very close to. She was like a mother to me, and it was, and I was thinking, adoption or keeping it or something, and she was getting an abortion.
Just knee-jerk reaction.
Oh, no doubt in her mind that was the only solution. Yeah.
Christian woman?
Well, there are a lot of people that call themselves Christian.
Okay.
And she had a church background like most people, but, they don't read the Bible. They don't pray. They don't do what the Bible says.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the Bible. Bottom line is, do you do what the Bible says?
Right. How about your parents? Where were they at?
They never knew.
Thing? Okay.
Yeah.
Did they ever find out later?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I was, far away from home and
Was there
on my own?
Was there any kind of backlash afterwards? Because I mean, we spend a lot of time talking about what happens to the mom and some, and a lot to the dad also. But what about the community around you? Was there any backlash when anybody found out, or did nobody find out?
Nobody found out.
Okay, it was just on to the next thing.
Nobody found out. It was kind of life goes on, and my job went on. Things seemed to get back to normal. It didn't seem to be a problem, I guess, at the time.
And how long afterwards did you end up telling the dad?
Oh, I told him. Just, I don't know why. I said, let's split the cost, and he was relieved. And that was that. We never saw each other again.
Wow. What was the cost back then?
I think it was $100.
$100.
Well, that was a lot of money.
Oh yeah. Well, Yeah, I mean,
That's a month's rent.
compared to today, but I mean, at the same time, it's like you stack it up against, the value of the life and everything like that. It's just sobering for me to put these things in monetary terms,
But he was very relieved to
Yeah.
pay me $50 and that was that. And life went on.
Yeah.
Seemingly.
So then for
Back
you,
then it didn't.
Did you notice any immediate impact for you, emotionally, spiritually, anything like that?
Not really. Not really. Other than I didn't want to go through it again. I knew I didn't want to go through that again.
And did you know why? Like what the negative thing was? Because I mean, obviously, right there's some kind of negative consequence or impact from this, right?
Yeah, I mean, it just made me uncomfortable enough that I knew I didn't want to go through that again.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of gave up on dating, and did my job. Figured I'd be a spinster school teacher, which I was perfectly happy with. And and then I did kind of get on the train of I wanted to wait to have sex until I got married. Mm-hmm. I guess that was the other side of it that I'd kind of forgotten about it, because I could see the danger in it, and I didn't want to go through that again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had a guy who was an ER nurse. And he talked about the gals that he comes through there, seeing them with these botched abortions or side effects of procedures. I mean, whatever the case may be, right? Chemical reactions that their bodies don't take well, and the people at the center the people at Planned Parenthood don't see that because they're out the door.
Yeah,
right. They got the system down, bada boom.
Yeah.
But then there's all of these shock waves afterwards. So and some of them are physical or medical, and some of them are mental, emotional, and spiritual, and all of that. So you said life went on until it didn't. So what do you mean by that?
Well, when my son was born.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And the reality, set in.
What was that like?
And then
for
later
you?
on, it's terrible to realize you've taken somebody's life away. Is a terrible thing, and there's just no getting around it. And that's why I asked God for forgiveness. That was very real to me, that I needed that. It's not like, accidentally knocked into somebody and, oh, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. It's very real that you really need that forgiveness, that you have done something grievously wrong and that you need forgiveness.
How did your husband handle all of that as you were going through all of that?
I had told him that I'd had an abortion before we got married, and probably said I don't want to ever do that again. And I don't remember talking to him about feeling that. It was just kind of a private conversation with God. We communicate a lot better today. But back then, he's a nuclear engineer. He's very much an engineer. And, we hadn't had that ability back then to really communicate well between a wife and a husband like we do now.
Sure. Yeah, well, that's a hard-fought skill. But even before you have the ability to communicate well as a couple, there's still feelings and emotions and stuff. So did you ever find out later what his internal dialogue was like as you were going through all of these things?
I think he was very much detached from it, that it wasn't part of his life. It didn't really affect him. This was kind of my thing. And so we really didn't talk much about it. And we haven't really, he and I haven't talked that much about, what we're talking about now, although, he knows about it. Mm-hmm. And he's been very encouraging for me. He's excited that I'm here, but he doesn't want all the details, I don't think.
Sure. No, that makes sense. I mean, so what year was your first baby born?
1977.
77. Okay. So, I mean, that's still, I mean, the culture hadn't changed since a few years earlier when you had the abortion.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And we'd only been married for a few months. But the question of And we weren't expecting our son.
Mm-hmm.
We were newly married. But he was 27, I was 26, which was ancient back then.
Yeah.
We were old, believe it or not. And so, yeah, I was very excited. He wasn't quite so enamored with the idea.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, no way. Keeping this child. Yeah. And his name's Ben, and he's 48.
What about for married couples back then? I mean, was it like, was abortion being used as a form of birth control between married people back then as well? Like sometimes it will be now?
I don't think so much. That's, I looked that up. About 90% of abortions, they estimate, it's hard because there's no official tracking. 90% are single women. And 10%, I'm thinking it's less than that. But many, many women that I know have an oops baby. Either the first one or the last one.
You get the 10-year gap, and then the caboose comes up.
Yeah, there's tons of them there. It's and most women, that becomes a blessing to them. And so it's just much different being married, and knowing you're supported financially. You've got a place to live. Yeah.
And even just somebody
child.
like there are a lot of couples with financial fears and anxieties and things, but they've got somebody to go through it with. There's not that aloneness.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And by the way, for the listening audience here, if you can hear a bunch of rustling and bustling in the background, that's because there's a co-op event going on at the church right now, which I did not remember that there was this special choir rehearsal when I booked this. So you guys are going to hear the sounds of life and many, many children. I think about 130 of them running around out there. So
and they're good, but many, it's so common for married women to have a pregnancy that they didn't expect.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I love that when people tell us we have too many kids. They're like, "You got how many kids?" And we're like, 6. And they're like, "Oh, you got too many kids." And I'm like, "Which one would you prefer that I give back?" Oh, maybe the accident, maybe the unexpected ones, or whatever. It's like, what a stupid thing to say. But that's how people think about it, right? It's just like,
oh, they tell you've got too many kids?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Nobody in the church, they know better than that.
Well, they see them as blessings, and people overthink how much time and money they're going to cost.
It's true, and the work of it all. It's like, look, life is hard anyway. It's like, might as well do it with a kid.
Yeah.
Emily was going through the grocery store. When was this? 3-4 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
And she had all the kids. I was somewhere else, and somebody comes up to her and goes, "Wow, are these all your kids?" And she goes, "Yeah." And the lady looks at her and just goes, "Same dad?" And she's like, "Buzz off, lady."
Yeah.
What kind of question is that?
But there's a dynamic with more children, too, that you don't have with one child. In a lot of ways, one child can be more work than 6 children.
Oh, yeah. They take more stuff. Like, it seems like when we go on a road trip now, the car was fuller when we had one kid with just all this stuff, and we got better at streamlining it. And so now there's less stuff in the car with 6. I don't know.
Well, and the older ones play with the younger ones and teach them, and you kind of, Well,
and there's also this thing where there's group dynamics involved where like if 3 of my kids are in the room, that's a culture, depending on which 3 it is.
Yeah.
Then one of them will leave, a different one will show up, and the culture changes.
Yeah, it does. And it's fun.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. Yeah. It's this endlessly like revolving door of societies in my house where it's just like, oh, this group of kids, you got to watch out for that one to get hurt. But when these ones are together, they're going to play,
I was the same way with when I was teaching school, that I loved large classes. And I despised small classes, just despised them because of the dynamics of a large class.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
One thing I'd do is split the class in half and compete in spelling tests.
Yep.
And you would have the good students that knew all the words, never needed to study and were bored. They're diligently learning how to teach spelling and it's good for them.
Yep. Layers of interaction.
It's good for them.
Yeah.
And trying to teach that one that doesn't get any words correct.
Yeah. Do you think that your experiences and everything have given you a more, do you think that children are more precious to you than they otherwise would have been had you not had an abortion?
Well, probably. I'm not quite sure how to answer that. But yeah, certainly, being a woman, the importance of being a woman, how delicate that system is. That you have all your eggs when you're born, and you look at a tiny little girl and realizing she has all the eggs that she will ever have in her entire life. And the fallopian tubes, how extremely small they are, and how balanced and how delicate that whole system is, and what a miracle it is to have a child. It's a special privilege.
The number of things that has to go right is just amazing. I mean, to say every birth is a miracle is like, that's true mathematically as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember when I found out that if a mom gets exposed to a germ, then the milk that she produces will carry the antibodies to protect the kid from that germ.
Yeah.
And it's just like, he thought of everything. That's
I
incredible. It's incredible stuff.
Well, it's even simple things like, with the transgender stuff, they're giving these mastectomies to, these young girls.
Yeah.
And it talked about cutting a duct. And it's like, I've nursed 3 children, but never thought of a duct.
Right. It's cold and clinical,
it's
right?
It's like you don't think about that, okay, you've got a duct that delivers. Where does that duct go? Where is that milk manufactured?
Mm-hmm.
You just don't even think about, where does a mother manufacture milk to go down the duct?
Right. But it is really easy to kind of paste over these things with medically specialized terminology. And then when you take that into the abortion realm, then you can make it sound like just a procedure rather than dealing with a life here that you're responsible for.
Yeah.
Right. And the world has gotten so good at that. And we value science and we value medicine. And so these explanations are attractive to us because they sound educated. They sound expert.
They do. And easy. And but
crisp and clean, no consequences.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you think to kind of go along with that a little bit, how do you think your character was formed by the decision that you made when you were out of college or senior in college?
Well, one of which has become my favorite verse, which was the verse I hated for a long time, which was, I thought was how to be the perfect Christian, which was give thanks in all things. And
what is that? 1 Thessalonians 5:19 or 20 or something? Yeah.
I need to learn that.
It's in there. I don't know.
But I learned that in the really tough times, the really things that I really detested, that I really hated, that I wanted to avoid at all costs, that I thought were just terrible, awful, that if I said, okay, God, I will give you thanks for this. I don't want to. I'm not feeling it. But I'm doing it out of obedience. And I understand that it's only through you that you can turn this into a positive in my life. And so I've learned to take, the negatives of my life and say thank you. And I haven't said thank you that I've had an abortion, but but I'll do that today. Thank you that I've had an abortion, that I can warn women. And that's why I wanted to come on today, that it's not insignificant. It's not little. It's huge, and you will regret it. And you are buying into a lie that, especially for women, you can have multiple partners, and that sex is just fun. And that is all a lie. Sex is fun, but for a woman, it's emotional, and it's connected, and it's about love, and it's about safety, and it's about a potential child and having that child cared for and protected. And I remember watching my child when he was just crawling around, because I'd worked, I was independent. I didn't think I would ever get married. And here I was watching this little child and realizing how this had impacted. And if I wanted to care for that child like I wanted to, I had to let go of certain things that I'd had in my life, and that I needed to depend on my husband. And I know that's unpopular, but it doesn't work that well. I mean, it can work. I mean, Erica Kirk is a single parent now, but that's a whole lot of a different thing when it's a death. But to take that on as yourself, to have a child, and to not have the two of you working in a partnership together is a very difficult thing. And so, you want that protection and that love and that connection. And so all these things you're being told, and I see women and, just acting out. Oh, sex is just fun, and I'm going to have all these, guys, and I'm going to rack up, all these guys that I've slept with. It's going to be great, and there's going to be no downside. It's such a lie. It's that, and the truth is that can work for men for some point. Mm-hmm. They are built more for multiple partners, but women are not.
Yeah, and men have a much easier time perpetuating the delusion of no consequences because we don't have to carry the babies.
Right. But they're also, if a husband and a wife argue, it's typical that, to a woman, okay, they're not going to have a sex if you had an argument. Men, it's totally unrelated.
Right.
It doesn't matter. Sex is sex.
Yeah.
If you had an argument, who cares?
Yeah, it's a different box in the brain.
But
right?
women, they want that relationship, and they want that cleared up. They want to know that they're loved.
Well, I think you said something. Yeah, you said something really profound there, which is you included something that most people don't include, which is the connection between sex and safety. Specifically for women.
Yeah.
Guys don't have exactly the same link, right? But it's but when you look at, like, this really struck me once when I saw the suicide rates after the Summer of Love in 1968, 69, I think 69 was the Summer of Love, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, right after that and in the early 70s and that whole free love movement, but there was a big spike after that year. And the suicides among females like 15 to 26 or whatever the number was, 15 to 34 maybe. And it was just astronomical. And it was like, I wonder what's leading to that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But between the value and the emotional connection that you're talking about, the connection between sex and commitment and relationship and marriage and the domicile and just like, this is where I live and this is where I can be safe. And there's a real level of self-exposure for a woman that, again, guys, men don't have the same cognitive connection to that, right? But I mean, it's devastating. And I mean, I really appreciate the fact that you're saying you want to warn women, because it's like women are running into something that, I mean, this is an overstatement, but women are running into something that men are not. When you talk about fornication and free love or whatever, right? It's the consequences are bigger.
Yeah. They're more immediate, but on men they are too.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's not to understate any of it, right?
Yeah. And the STDs, I was reading about those. They're common.
All of that, yeah.
Yeah, so I know women that are 70 years old that still, have outbreaks of herpes from when they were, probably in their 20s,
really?
50 years later. Yeah. Or women that you talk to that couldn't get pregnant and probably had like chlamydia. And so it clogs. It's easy to treat, but with women, it's hard to detect.
You mean because of an STD that they had when they were younger and playing around, then they couldn't have children later? Have
children, yeah.
Can't settle down the way you want to.
And the high levels of infertility. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know more women that are going through these extraordinary lengths, in vitro fertilization. I mean, I never saw these levels like this when I was young. And you wonder how many are, because of scar tissue and different things.
Sure. Well, and I think there's a backlash among my generation also with women because, when we graduated high school, we were encouraged to be very self-invested. It was just, you do you have your career, whatever.
Yeah.
And then, people, men and women both, they turn 30 and boy, their Facebook posts start changing, right? And it's like, now I'm playing catch up and now I was lied to. And now, my friends that started having kids at 21, 22, they've got these lives and it's like, I would trade anything for what they've got now.
Yeah.
And so then there's this rush to try and catch up, but your biology's working against you at that point.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad Charlie has given that example of, waiting till you get married and then having children. I mean, they had 2 children very soon. Yeah. And the love that they had for each other and for those 2 children, it was incredible. And to be that example to young people and to be so articulating and saying, this is what a man is,
So for young women then, let's say there's no guidance. There's no intact father unit or parental unit. There's no father figure there, kind of the protector, things like that. Still very common because the American family structure is toast in a lot of ways. And they can, young girls, young women they can get attention.
Yeah.
They're pretty.
Yeah. It's easy.
And so a lot of times they'll find attention in sexual encounters. Right. That can be appealing.
Yeah. It is very appealing.
What's the warning then? What do you tell them?
The warning is the consequence from the Garden of Eden on a woman was that instead of putting God first, she would put a man first. And you will have this desire to have a man's attention unless you put Jesus and God first. And you have to read your Bible. You have to understand it. You have to understand what a draw that is going to be on your life to want the attention of a male. It can just destroy your life. And instead of developing your talents, waiting, for Mr. Right and this wonderful guy that's going to love you and care for you and your children, you will get into sexual encounters to be approved. Because guys will tell you, oh, I love you, I want to marry you, all these things. And it's a lie. It's a lie.
There was a movie with Giovanni Ribisi back in the days, in like the 90s or something, and he was playing a mentally handicapped guy, and he was dating a mentally handicapped girl, and he wanted to have sex, and he was like, her name was Carla, I remember that, and she was like, she's like, no, I want it to be special, and he said, I feel special right now, Carla, and my mom, like we were watching that, and my mom stopped and said to me and my sister, you guys watch out, men will do that, right?
Yeah.
And my mom's no feminist. She was just calling it like it is. Like guys will do that.
They will.
Yeah,
they will.
We call it giving the old okey doke. It's like,
and women will believe it.
He okey doked her.
Yeah. Women will believe it.
Yeah.
Oh, he loves me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he loves me. Yeah, yeah. And then you hear the stories. Yeah, she got pregnant and he's out of there.
He's gone.
He's gone. He's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ever get flashes of regret or anything like that?
Not since I took the classes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just been very, very healing. No, the only thing I get is, when somebody's talking about an abortion, they just talk about that it takes an innocent life. I just jump up and down and say there's so many other reasons that need to be talked about, and I want to talk about them, and feeling like I don't have the vehicle. So I'm thankful that you had me on here. Because there's all sorts of things I've volunteered for. I think the church has been not enthusiastic about talking about abortion either. Many churches. Maybe 20 years ago or something, there was a movement to talk, and that seemed to be silenced. And I don't know if it was women in the church that didn't want it talked about.
I think it was because it was the move against politics in the pulpit.
Uh-huh.
Right. Which, I mean, obviously there's problems with that, right? If you're using the pulpit that is designed to feed God's people and you're using it just to accomplish your political objectives, you're a bad shepherd. I get all of that. But there was kind of this backlash that said anything that's in the political realm you can't discuss. And so for us as pastors, it was like, the issue of abortion, it was like, hey, don't talk politics. I'm like, that's not politics, dude. Like God has spoken, he said some stuff.
Yeah.
But anything that gets sucked up into politics, now senators are talking about it and the president will talk about it, it's supposed to be off limits for a lot of pastors, and they feel that way. So because of that, they've pulled back from a lot of these things, and they say, we don't want to be divisive, we just want to bring people in. And so, that's...
And the seeker-friendly movement.
Sure, yeah. And the Mere Christianity movement, they call it, which is it's sad that they call it that because I love that book, Mere Christianity by Lewis. But the Andy Stanleys of the world have said you just reduce everything to the bare basics of what it takes to get saved. That's it. Just take everybody to the resurrection, and that's it. And so they leave all of this other stuff out.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and they don't say what God has said.
Well, and Jesus, he either said, "Go and sin no more." Mm-hmm. He said that to the Samaritan woman, or people like Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus just automatically said, "Anybody I've defrauded, I will pay back 4 times, and I'm giving half of what I have to the poor." He just automatically knew what he needed to do, so Jesus didn't need to tell him. But the Samaritan woman, anybody, he said, "Go and sin no more."
It was repentance, but it was Jesus commanded repentance to the woman, and then Zacchaeus, he repented from the heart because he instinctively knew he had done something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then,
and
go ahead.
Yeah.
I threw you off. Sorry. So a young woman.
Yeah. And that the church, we're talking about the church and saving, but part of it is repentance. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The need. And that's, I think what kept me from understanding was that people didn't talk about sin. And when I started seeing the list of sin, and one of them was fits of anger, it's like, okay, that would be me. I'd tried all my life to be Pollyanna, if you're familiar with the movie. Yeah. These are old movies. And Melanie and Gone with the Wind.
Okay, yeah.
She was just wonderful. I just wanted to be those women.
Everything was in place.
And maybe 90% of the days I could be like that. Maybe even 99% of the days I could be like that. But there'd be that 1% or whatever it was of fits of wrath. And I just couldn't control it. And realizing that not only was that wrong to God, that I would murder if I could and have no consequences. Because he said, if you call somebody a fool, it's akin to murder. Because it's a heart condition and you just don't do it because you don't want to go to jail and there's consequences.
So speaking of those consequences then, let's say that there's a young woman who has gone and killed her baby. Now she's in church and she confesses it, but she's got all of this storm inside of her to deal with. What do you tell her?
I would recommend, and I don't know currently what's happening, but I think probably the pro-life people still have counseling things.
Oh yeah, there's a really good program up at U Medical for recovery of these things. Yeah. Yeah,
I would encourage them to go through that and to go through the process. It's so important, not just for abortion, but funerals are important. The gathering of the people when somebody dies and talking about their lives is important. Marriage is important. Things where you talk about and you gather are important. And so, I would encourage them to go to something like that. And it's difficult, but it is very, very healing.
Let me ask you to speak to something, because I will often talk with a woman who's got a baby on the way, no husband, boyfriend wants her to go and kill the baby. It takes some courage to stand up to him, or do something. So what do you tell them in that situation? Because I'm not a super credible source, right? In their eyes.
Yeah.
So
the woman, the man?
Yeah, the woman. I could talk to the guy all day long, and I frequently do. But if she comes into my office and she was like, "I got this baby, and he wants me to go make an appointment at Planned Parenthood. I don't know if I want to do that." What's your word in that situation?
Well, I would say, at least look at adoption. Yeah, don't kill that child. And adoption is a viable option. Many, many people want to adopt a child.
Oh yeah, we got families in the church clamoring to adopt a kid. It's a hard thing to do.
It is a very hard thing to do. So you would be, certain. And there's a lot of adoptions now where, you can follow that child too. At least, do adoption.
Let's say you've got a son or a grandson who is pressuring his girlfriend to go and get an abortion, and you've got his ear for a minute in the car. What do you tell him?
You don't want to be that guy where you're encouraging a woman to to murder her own child. You want to be the guy that says, I will do the right thing. You know, Charlie Kirk talks about it as being a man. You want to be a good man. And I talk to my grandsons, and they're like 4 and 7, but being a good man in doing the right thing and the good thing. You want to be that man that does the right thing and not the wrong thing. You will regret it. It seems like an easy fix, an easy out, but it's not. And you are leaving a track record of laying down a wrong thing, and you want to do the right thing.
A young woman who is feeling pressure from a man or from herself or whatever to go and get rid of her baby, and she shows up to church on Sunday. Mm-hmm. I'm not asking you what she wants to hear from the pulpit. I'm asking you what you think she needs to hear from the pulpit.
I think she needs to hear what I'm saying is you will be overseeing the death of your own child, and you will either start acting out or you will live with the reality of that. And you don't want either of those choices. And it's tough. It's a tough thing to go through. But that is the consequences of sin too. It leaves you in a tough position. But to do the right thing and to make the right choices, you want to do that.
Christians have a category for obedience in suboptimal situations, right? So like the situation sucks. There's no good choice here. Mm-hmm. There is still a way to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, in a lot of ways, that's just the Christian life because we live in a messy world and we are messy people and things like that. So the idea that you can do the right thing, even if you've done the wrong thing up to this point, and it's like, you know, God's not just casting you away and saying, go get turned over to the consequences of your sin. Yeah. There may be some realities to deal with as a result of sin. Yeah. But that's the whole point of Jesus coming to earth. That's the whole point of the gospel is that God has not turned us over completely to the consequences of our sin, and there's redemption. Yeah. And I think you're a great story of this because, you know, you're our special events coordinator, right? So when we've got an event at the church and it might be a baby shower, it might be a wedding, it might be, you know, something else. I mean, it could be a Super Bowl party,
members.
Who knows, right? Yeah, anything, right? But you get to set the preconditions now for so many celebrations that happen at this building where it's like, you know, to me, that's redemption. You're now working for the joy of God's people. I don't want to over spiritualize it, but it is. It's true.
Hospitality is
exactly.
huge.
It's one of the spiritual gifts there, right? In
with
1
preaching.
Corinthians 12, yeah.
And evangelism.
Well, and a lot of times it's more effective than that, right?
Potluck. Yeah. Jesus went to potlucks.
Amen. Yeah. But I mean, that is the redemption. So you're a living story now of somebody who is being effective for the Lord, for other people's souls, for the good of your community. Just elected to city council, by the way. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Glad you're there.
I'm excited.
I mean, you talk about redemption. It's like out of death comes life. Yeah. Welcome to life with Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I want to talk to high school kids.
Do you get to very much?
No. There seems to be a wall, but I'm starting to find ways to break through the wall. I've been talking to Chris.
Good.
Yeah. About telling them and just, it's just like warning signs on the highway.
Yeah.
Curve coming up.
What do you wish the government or maybe the schools, I say the schools, I'm not a big advocate of anybody going to public school in Washington State these days, but a lot of people do. What do you wish there was more of coming from them? And I say this because on one hand, like as you and I are pretty conservative, right? Like we basically just want the government out of this stuff for the most part. On the other hand, they've got the biggest megaphone that there is, and promoting the good of promoting the general welfare in homes is a legitimate use of government. So with their messaging, what do you wish they were doing more of to promote life, family, things like that? What do you think the legitimate function of government is there?
Well, a couple things, in the sex education, just being honest with what, and I've got a whole binder like this, that's a whole nother thing, on STDs, and the reality of what they all are and how they're transmitted and what the danger is from each of these, and that you have multiple partners and you're pretty much guaranteed to get one or another or more STDs, and to really teach them exactly what they are, how they're transmitted, and what their risks are. And let's see, there's 3 things I just heard of to be successful. Graduate from high school, wait till you're married to have a child, and I think the third one was get a job. Mm-hmm. It's simple. And so if you start teaching kids this, and get away from, everybody has to go to college, mm-hmm. And Charlie's right, it's a scam, and that there are a lot of other jobs that don't require college and that kind of debt. We had a friend, his son wanted to work on cars, and he wanted him to get an engineering degree and work out the area. And he was trained through Lexus, I think, moved to Texas, to a big city. And his dad said, I don't know what I was complaining about. He's making more money than I am now.
Oh,
He's
yeah. I
just
heard
started.
a couple of years ago, Caterpillar, the big machine company, making tractors and stuff. They were paying something like $100 for interns right out of high school to teach them how to work on these things.
Yeah.
And then you pick your place where you want to go.
I know.
Like, there's opportunities out there if you're willing to work, right?
Yeah. Truth. Teach truth.
So let's pivot for a second here. I've got a sneaking suspicion that almost all of the ills of society would be cured by if abstinence, if waiting until you're married to have sex was widely expected, and if there was some cultural pressure, meaning, I'm in favor of shame, actually. Like, I think it serves a function. Like, I don't want to run around shaming people. I don't think that's a good way to treat people. But when there are social taboos, those are guardrails, right, for very unhealthy behavior.
Yeah.
And if abstinence, if sex before marriage went back to being a taboo, like I'm not talking about I'm not suggesting how we could possibly get back there, but let's just be in my fantasy land for a second. Yeah. If we could have fornication as a taboo again, I think that would solve about 90% of our problems. Right.
And not just that. I was in Japan, I was in Tennessee, and I live in Washington. And all the women in Japan are beautiful. All the women in Tennessee are beautiful. It's like the women in Washington are ugly. Well, because of this, this sexual climate, they don't.
I was thinking it was just a vitamin D deficiency from not enough sun. I don't know.
No, they've got purple hair and pink hair.
That's true, because my wife is Norwegian. There's no sun in Norway either. And she's gorgeous. So.
They're not healthy. They're just not healthy looking, and the way they dress, it's like, and you go to Tennessee, and no tattoos. They've got all sorts of different color hair, brown hair and blonde hair and dark hair.
Pat, that might be the funniest thing that's ever been said on this podcast. I got to tell you.
Oh, that the women in Washington are ugly? Oh, God. It's just like, give me a break. They've got the bad outfit and the tattoos.
One good thing, though, makes abstinence easier for men.
No, because they see it as an easy mark.
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah. Where, and that's the other thing that I've taught them. Coco Chanel, the famous designer, she said women are sexier when they're covered. And you go to the beach and the sexy woman, she's the one with the one-piece suit that
it's really interesting. And from a man's perspective too, it's like what immediately draws the eye, what gives you the quick fix is not the same thing as what's desirable. Yeah. Right? Like there's women that are hot, and then there's women that are gorgeous.
Yes.
And they're not usually the same in the eye as a man, right?
No, they're not. I was just in Hawaii, and I've seen more rear ends that I care to think about it, including, older women. And I don't know. It's like, why do you think that's attractive?
So trace through this for me then. So it sounds like we're agreeing on this. If abstinence comes back as a cultural norm, then so many other problems kind of fall into place or have
they do.
We've got a way of addressing them, right? So let's talk about the side effects of that. Somebody says, or a generation says, we're not jumping in bed together until we get married.
Yeah.
What problems do we have now that would avoid?
Well, lots of them, including building a good relationship between a man and a woman. And that's really the core of it. I'd heard that consequence. You start a long time ago, and not sure I really believed it, but you start hopping in bed, and that's what the relationship becomes. Where if you're not doing that, you're getting to know them better and doing things together, and developing, that relationship. And it's a deeper relationship.
From the woman's side of it, then, how does that affect the trust after you're married? If he's kept his hands off you until the wedding day, what's the effect? What's the emotional impact of that like for a woman when she's finally married to him? Is there a spike in trust?
Well, there's a commitment. Yeah. Because you feel like this guy cares enough about you. It's like the eagles where the female will drop the rock, and the male eagle has to catch it.
That is such a cool thing.
And if he ever drops it, she won't have anything to do with him.
Yeah.
And there's things in a woman's life. I mean, that was between my husband's and mine. He always said Kennewick was too far to date a girl, and we lived 5 minutes apart. and it wasn't until I moved to Seattle, and all of a sudden he was calling me and driving 4 hours to see me, that I felt that it was like dropping the rock. How committed he is to this relationship. You're shacking up. There's very little commitment there on the part of the man. It's just fun and games. Where, his driving to Seattle, his doing things, that says something to a woman. Yeah.
There was a really depressing trend with men my age where they were getting vasectomies right out of high school.
Oh,
right?
Geez.
Yeah, because they had just decided, like, I'm not having kids, right?
Yeah.
And then, surprise of all surprises, it was hard for them to find a wife.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah.
No kidding, dingbat. Like, she wants...
Yeah.
What a wonderful thing for a woman to want to have your babies.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's so empowering for a man.
Yeah.
And you just took that off the table.
Yeah.
And I just thought of that when you said fun and games. It's like,
all
right, congratulations. You've received your reward in full. You got some fun and games.
I would tell my girls, men are like salmon. They need to swim upstream. That's part of you can't just let them lay eggs, not have to swim upstream.
That's a good analogy.
Or the butterfly that needs to have, the breaking out and to get those wings.
Got to get
going.
that struggle.
Yeah,
for life to be beautiful.
You can't. Don't pursue them. They need to have that struggle.
Yeah, an older guy that I know, he said to me, men are like diesel trucks. They run a little better with a load on them. So that's the man's version of that. There you go. That wouldn't communicate so much with a woman, but there you go.
It's true. It's true.
If you could speak to your younger self, let's say junior in college, right? What would you say?
Oh, that's easy. One of the things was, I didn't, for reasons I can't understand, but I can imagine, I didn't have a date on Saturday night. And that was so important to me, to have a date on Friday, Saturday night. Okay. That was my life in college. And I didn't have one. And so I went to the music center, and there are layers of pianos. So closer you are to the door, the worse the piano is. And then you get down the hallway, that's where the grand pianos are, that are practice pianos. Those are always taken. But on Saturday nights, I could get the grand piano and practice on the grand piano.
Because people are out doing Saturday night stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I thought, God, I could, instead of going out with I didn't call him my loser. I did love him, but I loved what I thought he was and not what he really was. Yeah. And instead of going out with my loser boyfriend and drinking beer on Saturday night, I could be up playing this marvelous grand piano. And I didn't take that. And that's what I would tell myself. This is a time to develop your God-given talents. And he's given you an interest in music and other things, and develop those talents. It's not important, because there was a sheet in my sorority of who'd called this girl that was extremely popular. Bob called, Ted called, Steve called. I wanted to be that girl where, 4 different guys were just like, I got to see you. Yeah. And mine would be blank. and that I was valued as a woman, that I was desirable as a woman, even though I didn't have all those guys trying to call me. And to just weight. And I think that's hard for women, especially and that's why it's so important to realize that that's a curse. It's a consequence. It's not really a curse. It's a consequence of not having the relationship with God that is so strong, and that was not important. And just because nobody was calling me or asking me out didn't mean that I wasn't desirable as a woman.
Yeah, and I'd love to shout out your book, but it hasn't been published yet, so get on that, by the way. But
Yes,
it wasn't until I read that I had heard somebody talk about it that way, and I think you're exactly right. I think that was so revelatory, where the part of the curse that was given to Eve, God says in Genesis 3, your desire will be for your husband, but he will rule over you.
Yeah.
And you explaining that to say, you're going to want a man's attention.
Yeah.
And that is going to lead you into all kinds of dark places.
And he will control you.
Yeah.
Because you want his attention. And when you want something from somebody else, it's so important to have somebody, and you want that relationship with a man. You want that man to be interested in you. And it's so easy because with a lot of men, you're going to get that attention by saying, yeah, I'll go to bed with you.
Mm-hmm. So I've pretty much led this conversation. What should we be talking about that we're not talking about right now?
You know, I think, to wrap it up, sex is a wonderful thing that is God's invention. And it's a beautiful thing. And it is fun, but you have to limit it. It can destroy you, or it can be a beautiful thing. And, the world will say, well, you've got to practice to get good at it. Like practicing the piano or something. And that is not true. It's instinctual. There's never been a generation, no matter how conservative, you can think of the most conservative Victorian England or whatever, people always figure it out.
They always, the geometry always seems to add up. Well, and I'll even say this, and I think you probably agree with me on this, but tell me if you think I'm off base. I think that conservative cultures and conservative couples have more sex than the liberal ones because
they do.
Yeah, because they don't have to go searching it out. You get an idea, you go make something happen.
Well, they're happier. They're more content. They're it's one of those paradoxes. You have all these partners, and they're not happy.
One of the other,
happy.
And there's fear involved in it too. It's like I've heard so many people say this, where it's like they get married and then it's like, but what if he's comparing me? What if she's comparing me to somebody that she was with in the past?
Yeah.
Whereas two virgins get married, they're like, how are you going to know if I'm bad in bed? There's like, even bad sex is good sex. I mean, like what, I probably shouldn't say that too loud. There's a co-op on the other side of that door right there. But seriously, it's like if you're experiencing, or if you're growing in these things together, there's no downside.
There isn't. And I mean, you go from prude, and you want to, my grandsons are not here. The 4-year-old is just, putting his butt in the air and running around buck naked.
God bless him.
But I know.
I wish I was that carefree.
I think the 7-year-old is getting over that. And so you go through this prudish. And so to go kind of from this prudish to, jumping in the sack together is, but it is God-given and natural. And just, nature takes over and you figure it out.
Yeah. Somebody actually asked that question once, how did Adam and Eve know how to have sex? And it's like, I think they probably did the math on this one. I think the Lord wrote it into the DNA code and they figured it out.
Well, it's kind of like walking, you know. I mean, parents, they're going to teach their child to walk. Yeah. And as a grandmother, I'm more excited that, my daughter's so excited that her son's learning to walk.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's going to learn that. They all learn that. They all learn eventually to get potty trained. They all learn to. And there's just a lot of things that you just learn. You just learn. And it's not a problem.
And so to experience God's gift as designed in sexuality, and then all the blessings that flow from that, the life-giving side of things with babies and parenting and, just the family home and the dynamics, like even group dynamics like we were talking about earlier with multiple kids and all this stuff, then all of that goes back to, in some sense, properly handling this gift of sexuality on the front end when we're young, right?
Yeah.
Before we're married.
Yeah.
And just say, if we just make the right decisions here,
yeah.
The payoff lasts a lifetime.
It does.
Multiple generations.
And not only that, I mean, I tell young people, if they're turning 40 or 50, it doesn't matter. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm getting old.
Yeah.
And to be able to say, the 40s are really great, but 70s, I'm in the 70s now. And they're so much better than the 40s or the 50s. And if you live life well, it just gets better and better. It's like a good wine that ages well. And I love being in my 70s. I think it's the greatest time of my life. And I get up in the morning and I'm excited and can't wait to go. And I've got incredible opportunities and things that I do, very varied between music and politics and family and grandkids. And I just unpacked from Hawaii and I'm repacking for Mexico.
When are you going to Mexico?
Next week.
Are you really? I'm going to be down there too. Where are you going?
Puerto Vallarta.
Oh, okay. I got to be in Aguas Calientes for a couple of days doing a graduation with some of the pastors from my my institute location down there.
Yeah.
So.
I'll be sitting on the beach.
Well, we'll be eating tacos at the same time, even if not in the same place.
We'll be eating tacos, yeah.
I got to tell you, Pat, I have never spent so much time talking with a woman in her 70s about sex. Thank you for coming on the show and sharing your wisdom with us, because it's hard-fought wisdom. Like, it really is. Like, what the kind of stuff that you've been through and the redemption story that you are, like, walking around, that's not theory. And so I really hope that people have listened to what you've got to say. I appreciate you being here to make disciples with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hungry for Wisdom is a ministry of Grace and Truth Community in West Richland, Washington. 1 John 4:19. We love him because he first loved us. If you are enjoying Hungry for Wisdom, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share it. Leave us a 5-star rating if you think we've earned it.